Well, good morning. This is Hiro. You know, I've covered this subject before, but it might have been a few years back. And then I'm basing on what I see in the comments and the new followers. Okay, so, I have over 1,000 chapters. So if you really wanted to see this, you got to go look for it. But I'm thinking that probably it's a good idea to redo these again. So today's chapter is on how to start your bonsai material from cuttings. Perfect. So I took the cutting in middle of March, and that's usually a very good time for us around here to do these conifers. This is a cypress, but junipers, anything like that, this is a good time of the year to get started. And then first 3-4 months, I had this cover on it, right, to increase the humidity and in an area that has sort of diffuse light. If it's too much light, then it gets hot and it cooks. If it's too shady, then it doesn't have chance to try to grow. So you got to find sort of the sweet spot, I call it. And then once you find that, the percentage take is great. Today, I'll take this apart and we'll see what the percentage take was. So remember, this is delicate, so don't yank it out. Okay, so the weeds get taken out. And we'll carefully take this apart. Well, I do a bunch of them to save space. Here's one that looks good, huh? Oh yeah, this is a really good batch. Maybe I could have done it a little sooner, but today is early part of September, and that's a good time to take it out because we know it's going to get cool, but still plenty of time for it to grow back. So here's a failure, another failure. Wow, it's well rooted. Maybe we're going to end up with a big clump style. Just kidding. Okay, I'm going to go get the root rake and rake this out. No wonder it doesn't want to come apart. I used the rubber band method. Oh yeah, now it comes out easier. So you notice that it's not 100% take, but this is pretty good. The Boulevard Cypress has always been easier for me. Most of the time they take. Yeah. But not perfect. Yeah, I was telling my mom that, I can't get it 100% take. She says, well, if you get 50% take, do twice as much. Well, duh. Yeah, well, what can I say? Now, if you were running a greenhouse, professionally running a greenhouse, this is not an acceptable way, but I don't have a greenhouse, nothing fancy, just a water bottle with the bottom cut out. So just doing it, if it's 20% failure rate, then do 20% more. If you're going to do bonsai, well, a cutting will not have a taproot because that only happens in the seeds, right? But if you got these long ones, just the tips. Don't cut off too much because then you lose the vigor. But if you take the tips, then it'll spread out more rather than a really strong one. So next, so this one here, oh, let me back up a little bit. See, this soil is basically the same as what I mix for just about everything around here. Well, for some reason, there's a thing that says you should mix the soil. Anyway, that's why I'm mixing it in here, and then make sure you get it in, and then see if you could get these roots to more or less spread out, right? And be very careful not to get too rough and push down too hard. Well, it's okay to pack the soil, but you don't want to damage the roots. So you got to be very gentle at this point. Okay, this one here, the cutting, this bottom part, right? It's not doing anything, so I'll just cut that off and begin a smaller cutting. Same thing, very gentle. Okay, yeah, this one is well rooted, but not as vigorous as the first one. So put some soil on the bottom, mix some of the old and the new. Seems like there was a reason for it, but I can't remember. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do the rest. As you work on these, you look at the roots, right? Look at this one here. There's a prominent root going in two different directions. Sometimes there's three or more, but can you see the potential of this? If we put a rock in here, right? Well, let me go get the rock. So, well, when you get a rock, make sure that it has a flat side so that when it's done, there is stability, right? So this one has a flat bottom, so I could do like this, and then take this, probably something like this, right? But once you do this root over rock at this point, it's going to be set. This is going to be no more than a shohin because of the size of the rock. If you want a big root over rock, what you do is take this and plant it in a deep container so you get this to get stronger, longer, right? And then you find a rock that's appropriate to make the root over rock. And I think I'm going to skip this root over rock and put it in here. Now, this size could go in here, but you see how shallow this is, right? So if I put it in here, then it has the potential to be a root over rock material in the future. Unfortunately, you can't remember because it's in the thing and you got too many plants, unless you're working on your own project and you could remember that. So if that's our master plan, we do not cut the tips because that will make it grow up here, which is the normal way we do for bonsai. But if you want root over rock, you want this to be longer. So we're going to put it in here, keep that root as deep as possible. And if you could remember, take this and put it into the next size that's deep faster than the others. Well, it's probably not going to work anyway, but I've made a label, root over rock material, and today's date, and put it in here. Well, of course, the training period and growing period, you'll probably get lost, but it's a good idea anyway. So that's what that was. And then so I'll go through and repot these. And if there's something that's interesting, I'll stop and show you. Okay, so we got, let's see, 9, 10, 11 good, 11 plus 3, so 14. And we had 8 that failed. So it's really not a good percentage, but not bad, considering we didn't spend a whole lot of money, right? Just time and some soil. A couple things we're going to probably do. I think my problem was I put too much in. That rubber band method is easy, but it has its limits. I think that's why the inside died, because it didn't get enough sunlight. But once again, do as I say, and not do as I do. This is getting kind of heavy, so we should start opening it up, and we want 1 liter to go, right? And well, because it was in that humidity area with the water bottle, it was jammed, right? Now you could start to see that it's starting to have some direction. So Boulevard Cypress, if you kind of pick out the leader and make it go, I think you'll have a better chance of having something good in the future rather than just let everything go. So we don't want to prune heavy because we want this to grow fast as we can. But now you can see that we have the apex here, and then next go around probably get cut off like that, so we have our movement. When I took the cuttings, I already put some movement in it when I could, right? See, like this one here, it just all bunched up, and nothing down here because it was too crowded. So in the past, I didn't use the rubber band method. That's one of those lazy things that I came up with. But I don't think it was a good benefit for it. So now we're going to go up, but this will really be a dumb time to put wire on this, because these grow so fast. It will, by next spring, late spring, this will probably embed it. So I've got some light movement, but we usually create the movement by pruning. So anyway, I just wanted to show you some of the other methods besides the wire that people tend to gravitate towards. I think the others are okay, but this one I think could stand some directional pruning. See, it was getting too heavy. And what happens with most plants, all the branches want to be the leader. But if you don't take care of it and you decide which is the leader, then you get this massive growth up on top with the fork that you don't want. So you start at this point. See, now you see this movement down here? That's because I did it in the cutting stage. So when you're taking the cuttings, you better find some movement already, right? And then you carry it on as you go up. So somewhere over here. Okay, are we going to call this bonsai? No, this is a pre-bonsai training stage. And we'll probably do a minimum of 3 years. And if you want some great ones, then you better do it for 10 or 20. And that's the reality of bonsai. Just because you slap some wire on it, that does not make it a bonsai. Okay, I better put it away. So I gotta get these watered thoroughly and then find a nice safe place where it will not get bumped around. So the next thing is I had to find a place where it will not get bumped for about a half a year. Well, because there was not much root there. Well, some had a pretty good root system, but basically if you move it and shake it, then the feeder roots that are trying to get established will get damaged. So I'll find a place and then hopefully, well, you already see me working on the starter material, right? So this next year would be considered starter, except that my starters already have the training to start with. Versus other people, starter means it's a seedling or just a cutting. Okay, so I'll say goodbye for now. See you again real soon. Hopefully, those of you that have been following me a long time don't find this boring, but I think that we have enough new followers that they need to know how to get started with a good bonsai material.